So I'd like to thank Carla for inviting us to share this edgy conversation about how we've used some specific technology at Edith Rankin Memorial United Church in Kingston to pivot in this pandemic time to continue our ministry and mission, and particularly we're looking at how we've continued to be a worshiping congregation today. My name is Joe Ramsey. I have been an interim minister at Edith Rankin Memorial for about a year. And with me is Kim Barney, who is the music director. And so I will share we have a PowerPoint to walk us through. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and we will use that to focus on what it is we're doing. Does that work for you, Carla? Does that show up okay? The screen share?
Yes, great, thank you.
Great. All right, so Edith Rankin Memorial in Kingston is a congregation of about 500 members and 180 people normally at worship services on average when we are able to physically gather, congregate. But at the first indication of the seriousness of the COVID-19 virus, the council there at Edith Rankin decided to close the building right away and to suspend in-person gatherings, including worship. So that was back in March. But several technology tools have helped us to continue to congregate, continue in mission and ministry, not just doing things differently, doing the same things differently, but also doing some different things as well. So those 5 of these technologies that we're going to just mention today, and then we'll focus on 3 of them, and primarily 2 of them actually. But there's a collaboration platform produced by a company called Ring Central. It's called Glip, or the Ring Central app, kind of goes by 2 names. So it's a collaboration platform, and it's really enabled us to continue to work together. And so we want to share with you how that works. Also, Soundtrap is a cloud-based digital audio workstation, meaning that we can use it to create music, even though we're dispersed and in different places and not physically coming together. The third thing is Ring Central Meetings. It's powered by Zoom. It's really just Ring Central's version of Zoom. And that's part of our unified communications as a service system that we use at Edith Rankin Memorial. It's enabled us as well to continue with worship. We've also used MailChimp a lot, and to stay connected, to keep information out to people in an attractive kind of format. And we've used our Ring Central Office phone system as well in these past months, which has an auto attendant and can direct phone calls to our extensions directly to an app on our cell phones. So that has been really helpful as well. I live about 30 minutes from the church, and one of the other ministers was living about an hour from the church, and it really enabled us to be to operate just as though we were sitting in our offices and able to pick up the phone. So that's been really helpful too. But we're going to just focus on well, we'll just mention the Ring Central Meetings app for briefly, but primarily focus on 2 of the other technologies. So Ring Central Meetings is powered by Zoom. It's essentially a white labeled version of Zoom. We've used that as our video conferencing platform, and we decided right from the beginning to create an interactive and participatory real-time approach to online worship, rather than just pushing out our worship services for consumption, but rather in anticipation of the isolation that we felt coming, we decided to go with an interactive and participatory approach. So we've used breakout rooms. Yesterday we had about 130 people connected to our worship service, and those people got to communicate, chat with each other. We didn't do breakout rooms yesterday, but that's not unusual for us to do that. And then we record that and edit it and put that on our website as well. So those who can't connect in real participatory worship are at least able to to connect with it by watching the service afterwards. But the Ring Central app is really the heart of the unified communication as a service system that we've been using. It's available without the VoIP phone and other features, just as a standalone and free collaboration platform. And Glip became the technology that enabled us to continue working collaboratively together in all kinds of ways. As staff, we were able to essentially continuously be in touch with each other. As staff at the church, we were able to create a worship preparation team on this platform. The council continued to use Glip to do its work, the M&P committee, the search committee, website team, various other projects. So to demonstrate how Glip was used, we're going to look just specifically at how the worship team used it. So this is what the platform, the latest version of the platform, looks like. As you can see on the top left, the message, there are 5 icons in our version of it. There's 4 in the free version, which doesn't have the phone included. But right now we've selected the messaging feature, and then underneath that we've selected the team, which is the worship team. So that means that in that center panel, everything to do, that conversation stream with our worship team is what shows up there, as well as on the right-hand panel, it shows you who the team members are in that worship team, as well as all of the content that's shared or associated with the work that we're doing together. So files, images, tasks, a calendar, links to other things, and so on. So that's the main screen of the platform that we use. This is a cloud-based platform. It's something that we can install on our phones or our computers, or even just access through a web browser. So this is how we work together. As you can see here in this image, we could share videos. As we created videos for worship, they could be just dropped into this center panel, the message stream, and we could view those videos in line. We didn't have to download large files. We could just stream them right in the app, allowing us to see what was being developed in terms of videos that would be used in worship. On the right-hand side, it shows in this picture the files that are shared with the team, including those video files that you see in the center panel. I'm going to go quickly through this, and then at the end, we're going to have a little time for any questions, but we'll just keep moving quickly through it for now. In this image, it shows, again, you'll see the worship team is highlighted on the left, but we've dropped in a Word document, which is the outline of the service that we're working on in this particular week. And here, if you click on that preview of that document, it brings up the full image, and you can annotate the document in context. So if somebody wanted to point out a specific spot in that document, and this works with other content as well, like photographs or images, but you can drop a pin in that document and make your comment in context, so that the others need to just click on it, and it'll take them right to the thing that you're talking about in the document that you're working on. You can also look at all of the tasks, events, files, or notes, as you can see in the left-hand column. You click the bottom icon on the left, and then it brings up tasks, events, files, and notes. And it includes all of them across all the teams that you're working in. And then you can sort or search or filter by any team or by any keyword. So in this case, I just brought up all of my all of the files that are shared across all teams and typed in the word prelude. And you can see that it brought up all the preludes that we've worked on as for all the various worship services in past months. So it's very easy for us to find something that content that we're working on. It also includes a notepad, so that was really helpful for for outlining the work that we're doing. It's a shared note so that any of the members of the team can go in and edit that note, add theirs. In this case, we were working on a service for October the 18th, and I had put down some possible hymns, and Kim Barney jumped on this note and then edited it and added some other hymns that he thought would be suitable for that Sunday. So this is another important aspect of the collaborating is the sharing of this editable note. So that's Glip. That was our collaboration platform, and it was really key, because if we were to try and do all of that kind of work, the sharing of large files, annotating those files, making comments on them, and just ongoing sharing and messages with each other. If we were to try and do that over texting and email and Google Drive and across a number of different platforms, it would have been very, very difficult for us to do, as opposed to just having one team space that we could just work in. And so I'm not sure that we would have been able to do what we've done collaboratively with 10 people involved in worship preparation, had it not been for having access to this collaboration platform, or one other one like it. I mean, there's a few others available as well that are similar. But the other piece of technology that's been really key is something that and Kim's going to talk to you about this now, something called Soundtrap. And it's really a digital audio workstation that is in the cloud. So it enables remotely us to create music with voices and instruments, the same way you would do in another digital audio workstation like GarageBand or Ableton or Cubase or one of those music creation software. But this is in the cloud, and we don't have to get together in the same room to record our parts for it. So Kim Barney, who's our music director, he coordinates for worship 6 or 8 pieces of music every week with a number of people engaged. So I'm going to turn it over to Kim, and he'll let you know how this has worked for him over these past many months.
Thank you, Joe. So initially the lockdown, when we thought it was going to be short in duration, everybody was kind of relaxed. Okay, no problem. And then as about a week went by, and we realized, hey, this is not going to be a short lockdown. This is going to be a pretty major one. And it's going to mean some major changes for how we worship, and especially how it deals with music. So so the ministers kind of came together. They found out how they could do their part to continue the worship experience online, and it just became clear that we needed to come up with a similar type plan for the music. Also, the choir here at Edith Rankin and all of the members of the music department who have contributed over the years have just been an incredibly vital part of ministry. And I just kind of sense that there's no way that these people are going to want to sit around and wait for months on end to start singing again and start being a part of worship. I just didn't feel that they were going to accept that very gladly. So as it turns out, I was kind of drug into the digital virtual world of music, kicking and screaming a bit, because most of my work had always been firsthand, go to choir rehearsal, rehearse the group, play on Sunday. Well, now I thought, okay, how are we going to do this? So initially, musically, the pastor said, okay, well, let's try a hymn, and we'll do it on Sunday morning. And then could you play something on the piano that's recorded? So I thought, okay, fine, that's fine. So I recorded something, it was played, and we happened to have a resident videographer, photographer that over the years has cataloged thousands of recordings of things that we've done at the church, including the Limestone Ringers, the chancel choir, soloists, and the like. And so we were able to take and pull from that resource to interject some music into our initial services. Well, this we quickly found with hymns that even though we would like to do them live, we'd like to play the piano or the organ and have them sing to it live. That was a total disaster. There's too much problems with latency in people's internet speeds and so forth. So it sounded like a herd of elephants all trying to interject their songs simultaneously. And we quickly realized that's not going to work. So bottom line is we decided the only way we're going to have meaningful new music each week is if we could pre-record and produce that for use on Sunday mornings. So what was born out of that was the idea of using Soundtrap. And that actually came from a member of our choir who was using Soundtrap individually. So let's just take a moment and just look at the program and how it's used. First, I want to say Soundtrap is a free web-based service. So anyone wanting to use that for the purposes we're using it for, they don't charge you for it. They do have upgrades for a fee to give you some added features, and we looked at that, but we found that actually the free version gave us everything we really needed. So we're going to look at this first screen that's up on your monitors right now is what you see when you first go into Soundtrap. And as it works out, each choir member, each musician, each one who's going to contribute has their own Soundtrap account. Matter of going in very simply, setting up a little bit of a profile, as detailed or as sparse as you want to make it, and then just starting to use the program. It was determined after some trial and error that the free version works so well that we just went ahead and I started inviting a small group of people. And we thought, okay, let's start with a core group. Let's 3 or 4 people that will be our song leaders for hymns. And then we'll have maybe a more expanded, we had, I think, a total of 8 in our virtual choir. So this became our core musician group. And as it progressed, we found that more and more people wanted to join in, not only in the singing. I mean, we would look online. I would scan all of the people who were participating when we were playing the hymn, and even though they weren't able to contribute, they were all singing along with the group. So everyone was involved, and it just turned out marvelously. So when you first go into Soundtrap, you see the screen that you got here, and then if you scroll down to the next slide, you'll see that what you have is actually your list of projects. So when our musicians come into Soundtrap, they'll have the project that they're working on. They'll be able to open it up in what's called the studio. So you see on the right-hand side, past the name, like I'm gonna live so God can use me. Over there, it's a studio. You click on studio, and then you go in and you can start recording. Also, at the beginning, no one had access to the church. We didn't want a bunch of people going in and getting music, so I would actually scan copies of the music and send them as a PDF to everyone so they could have the music printed out for themselves to sing with. So as we go down, so beyond the profile and the bit of advertising you see on the opening screen, then you see the list of projects. You start to see that if you go into the next screen, you see that there are multiple people who can contribute to the Soundtrap experience. I typically lay down a piano track of the music. In this case, this was the music for this last Sunday. There was actually a counting track where I would actually physically count, since I can't direct them. Many people said, I can't tell where the beat is. So I was able to put down a counting track, which they can listen to. If you'll notice, there's a purple circle around the little speaker emblem that says that it's muted. So when I finished, and before I produced the final mix, I muted everything I didn't want to sound. I obviously didn't want the counting to sound in the final produced piece of music. But you can see we had a guest flautist. And then we had about 11 to 12 choir members who all joined in. So all the workplace that the people do takes place in the studio, and this is what it looks like. So on the left-hand side, you have your microphone that you select and name it for your own name. And you simply do that by hitting a plus button. Wherever the last person in that list is, there's a box right under it, has a little plus symbol. You hit that, and the next screen will show you what you get. You get an opportunity to record on using that track that you're just creating for yourself. Now, in order to get your because you don't have a sound technician in your sound studio, you are the sound technician as well. So you get to click the little box just above where it says start recording. There's a little symbol with a wheel and a speaker. And if you click on that, you'll see what you'll see next. You'll see a volume check box. And I had to harp on this with a lot of people to start with, because this is what sets everyone's volume when they sing or play. So it's not too loud, not too soft. You don't want it to distort. And if you have it set, if your mic is set a little too hot, then that's what can happen. So that's how you do that. And then the next you'll see, once you've done that, you hit record, you record your part. So for instance, you can see the piano part. Again, I've decided I don't want that first second or two to be sounded. So I've actually isolated it and muted it. And then you see the graph representation of the music. And everyone gets that same graph representation. And that's it. So everybody goes in, they record their part, they save it before they leave. And then one added feature is many like to have other people singing when they sing, and some would rather just sing only with the piano. So in Soundtrap, you have the option of muting any of the various tracks that you want to mute and listen to any. Let's say Kathy with a C is singing with, or let's say Bonnie and Carolyn are singing, and they want to have their mics heard, but they don't want anyone else's, so they can mute the basses and the altos and everyone else. So it just it's very versatile that way. Obviously, when I'm done, I unmute everything so everyone can be heard. So that's basically how it works. Once you've done all of that and you record your part, at the bottom you'll see, if you scroll down one more, we can see how at the very bottom there is a set of controls that look just like a tape recorder or a CD player. So you've got a play button, you've got a forward, you've got a reverse, and you've got a return to the beginning button, and also a record button. So you don't use that record button typically, but you could. And what you do is you can use that to play back what you just sang. So people will go in, they'll sing, they'll say, oh, I don't like it, I messed up here, messed up there. I'll get emails, can you please take out a certain measure because I messed it up and I never did get it right. So that becomes an editing function later down the road. So basically that's how that works. And you can split regions up of the sound. So if you go down one more screen, you can see where you can mute, as I said, and one more. You'll see, for instance, that in the flute part where the flutist is not playing, I have just isolated that section and muted it. That way you're not doing anything, you're not singing, you're not playing, and the dog barks. You don't have to go back and re-record everything. So it's pretty versatile that way. And everyone is really getting the hang of it. I have to say that not everyone is at the same level of technology. So some of them needed a little bit more instruction, a little bit more help, but really the program is fairly versatile, and people do pick it up quite well. And I've definitely found that within the last, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks, it's just getting easier and easier for people to contribute. And I have less and less editing to do, which is really nice. So
they can record on their phone.
Go ahead.
Record on their phone, you were saying?
What's that?
They can record on their phone.
Oh yes, absolutely. The one thing that that we have found is that if you don't have a quality mic, for instance, but you still want to do it, your iPhone or your smartphone often has a very good mic on it, as it turns out. Matter of fact, I record all of the piano parts on my iPhone 6S, and it does a wonderful job. Of course, another mic would work too, but I found that typically laptop mics are not as good a quality. They were never really meant for music recording. They were meant for just someone speaking occasionally, but never for that. So you can definitely do your recording and all your work on, let's say, an iPhone. And it works quite well. There's obviously an app that you download for that. So the very final thing is the editing, where I go in and you can see what I've done here. I've taken out the beginnings of each singer's section where they're not singing. So there's any background noise is taken out. And then finally I mix the volume, any reverb I want, and try to get a good balance. And that is really it as far as the nuts and bolts of Soundtrap. There's things you're going to find as you get into it, but I think you'll find it very rewarding, and that the people that are doing the singing find it equally rewarding. So Joe has an example of our latest offering that he can share with us.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you very much. This was amazing. I think that what I'm hearing is that Edith Rankin Memorial hasn't just done Zoom, which we're doing right now, and hasn't just done sermons. It's just like what else can we keep on doing and exploring and using technology to do that? And I think what you just showed us today was like two completely different ways of using technology and to maintain the music ministry. And so I warned you at the beginning of this, if you would like to unmute yourself to say like a word or like a phrase of what using technology in this new way has meant for you over the last few months of continuing to be a community of faith together and traveling together, as well as maintaining this music ministry. So at this point, I'll invite as many of you that are interested in having your voice heard about how has this made you feel?
Wonderful.
Thank you, COVID, for making us use the new technologies that are out there.
Wow, thank you.
It's been challenging, but it's a great way to keep singing.
I'm going to pick up community. Sorry.
I'm going to pick up on something that was said by Joe yesterday that allows us actually to continue to gather and to continue to scatter.
I would say that it's kept us connected as well, which is what you're saying as well.
Community. Keeping up the relationships.
It seems like it's almost a continuation of the previous service in the sanctuary, except we're looking at a screen wherein the service has all the components that you would normally have in the sanctuary. And I think the comment was made that if people came back to the sanctuary, they might find it awfully bland compared to what we have in the current Zoom services, except it's a little tougher to put together. And we appreciate all the effort, the unseen effort in putting it together.
I feel like I'm in my church home, at home.
We find it's a lifeline. It keeps us connected. We look forward to the Wednesday meeting and the Sunday church service.
It's been incredible. We are so grateful for everyone contributing their gifts and their talents. It's unified us and strengthened us. So thank you to all who helped this to be possible.
Any other thoughts?
Our comment didn't show up.
One other point I would like to make is that with this capability, before the service actually starts, when you have all the faces across the screen, and it can be about 4 or 5 sets of screens, which are 25 each, people are conversing back and forth, which is something that you don't have in the service, but is a tremendous way of bringing people together because they see everybody as they go back and forth with the screens, and the exchanging of welcomes and other little snippets of personal activities adds so much before the service starts, and that also occurs at the end of the service. So you have these two bookends between conversing with the congregation members. Thank you.
And sometimes the breakout room in the middle of the service for talking about some aspect of our worship theme.
I think the interaction between people has been amazing. And Joe, just as Joe said, you get in a breakout room with people that you might not normally even talk to. And so it just gives you a little nudge in that direction that you know, maybe takes you out of your comfort zone, but everybody has just embraced this wholeheartedly. And it's just been a wonderful experience for sure.
So I get to thank you, Edith Rankin Memorial, for being outside of your comfort zone in general and trying these new things. And then for today to share your story to inspire other communities of faith to consider this as well. So hopefully, and I know there will be a ripple effect of the courageous experimentation that you've already done. So thank you.